We're here with Mr. Max Homa on my biggest win, recounting an incredible victory at Quail Hollow last year. You and me actually had dinner Tuesday night before the tournament, and a lot of jokes getting thrown around at the table. I think at the time you were like 7,000th in the world, and nobody really had big hopes. Quail Hollow being a beast of a golf course, and I think it was you, me, Colt Nose, Tom Lovelady was there.
Ray Molnax.
Trey was there. I think Bo Hostler might have been there. And we were sitting next to Denny Hamlin.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
was at the table next to us. And we were having a great time. And we sort of joked like, oh, the victory party's going to be here on Sunday. Rent it out. Everybody's
Yeah,
kind of telling jokes. But I think in everybody's head, the goal was just to make the cut because
sure.
the field was strong. There were a lot of factors that were going to play in. Number one, weather we knew was coming. Number two, I mean, that golf course is just a beast of a golf course. It is a major golf course, pardon the pun. But, I mean, Justin Thomas won in 2017 there. We know what it takes to win at Quail Hollow. It takes a big, 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 game off the tee. But really that second shot matters. Like you got to be able to hit 5-iron close and you got to do it consistently. And the putter's got to be on. It's just a complete package. You can't fake your way around that golf course. So you come in and you miss the cut the week before at Zurich in New Orleans. You were playing with Andrew Putnam. And I talked to your caddy, Joe, and he said that Putnam was super complimentary of your game, saying that you were striking the ball so well, you kind of carried the team, even though you guys missed. I saw you Tuesday, but give me the breakdown of where your head was at leading up to that week. You're flying from New Orleans. Now you're in Charlotte. I know you got a little chipping lesson earlier in the week, might have straightened some things out. But where was your head at? Where was your confidence at? Where was the mentality at?
Yeah, confidence was super high. I had played pretty well up to Zurich. I played pretty well I had to Monday into the waste management, but I played pretty well, got 26, and then got a top 10 at Pebble the next week, and then played well at Riviera, minus like a 9-hole stretch. So it was getting pretty high. And then, Joe's right, and Andrew was too. Getting to play with Andrew was awesome at the Zurich. Unfortunately, we missed the cut. We had a weird week with the rain. We had to play all 36 holes in one day, and we kind of got spent. And I would say legitimately the only bad swing I made all week was on our 35th hole, and I hit one in the water, which essentially made us miss the cut. But I probably hit it better that week than I did the following week at Quail Hollow. I couldn't miss,
really,
especially off the tee. Yeah, I just had my swing in a groove. So going into Quail, I was bummed that we had missed the cut. But I knew personally that my game was like locked in. My chipping had been suspect for, pretty much all last season. So that week was a good week to get a lesson. Obviously good timing. The grass at Quail Hollow is not particularly difficult to chip off of. And yeah, when you think about weeks, like you said, we had that dinner on Tuesday, and it's one thing everyone kind of jokes around about, what are we going to do when we win, when it's a Tuesday. I don't even think that like a Tiger or a Rory necessarily can just say, oh yeah, this is what we're going to do. Like it's hard to get your brain into like, we're just going to win. I doubt anybody can do that because it's such a long week. But once the week started going, I knew that my game was still there. I played really well on Friday, and it kind of, then your brain starts to wrap around like, all right, like we're in contention. This is what we're going to do to try to win. But yeah, it's such an interesting – golf is so interesting being 4 days and considering we're there for probably 6 of them to be like, yeah, I'm just going to win this week. Like it just doesn't – it's hard. You can't go all the way into that mindset because then, if you shoot one over on Thursday, it's all of a sudden, I don't know if it plays with your mind. So you just try to take it one day at a time. So yeah, making the cuts the first goal, and then hopefully like for that week for me, I played really well on Friday to get, into contention early, and then just kind of had to play kind of solid on the weekend.
Yeah, that 63 on Friday was major.
Yeah.
And then the other huge roadblock for you that week was playing on Saturday with Rory on his birthday. And I think that most people take for granted the fact that at the end of the day, you guys are just human. And though you strike the ball better than most other people on planet Earth, when you get into those situations, it affects the other guy who's playing with Tiger, who's playing with Rory, who's playing with Phil. It's a big deal. And I don't think enough credit is given to the guys that are paired with them, especially on Saturday when both of you have been playing well and the shuffle just works out where you're teeing it up with them. it's a big deal, and it can affect a lot of guys' games. You ended up shooting 70. I think he might have shot 68. You were right there. But give me a breakdown of what that was like.
Yeah, that's where I really leaned on Joe the most. He even said on Friday night when we were seeing how the pairings were gonna go, he texted me, goes, "Hey, get mentally prepared. I think we're gonna play with Rory tomorrow." And I'm like, "All right." And it's one thing to play with Rory. I think Rory's he's number one in the world, but I've never played with Tiger, but he's the most freak talent I've ever seen in golf. The way he hits his driver, and I'd already watched him play, but I never played with him. And I'm playing with him at a place that he owns. Like, he owns Quail Homa. Like, I played there 2 years prior when he shot 61 on a day where the greens were white. They were so firm. So I'm like, oh man, what I get myself into. I had a bit of a lead on him. Obviously, I'm still trying to, second last group, still trying to, get into the lead or keep the lead or whatever. So, or extend the lead. So yeah, getting out there, I was pretty nervous. I had never been in that position before on tour, and I definitely never played with Rory in that position before. So even when we were on the putting green getting ready to go to the tee, Joe said, "Hey, don't get there early. Like, let's not have to stand on that tee and wait for the roar of Rory coming." Right. And then I found out it was his birthday, so that made it even worse. And I get on the tee.
Did you bring him a present?
I did. I honestly didn't know what to do. My mouth was so dry. I don't even know if I said happy birthday. I fortunately have the tee. So they announced me, I hit my tee shot, hit the fairway. I go back over, and, I'm pretty pumped that I hit the fairway. I'm also like jello legged. I had never played in front of that many people. I mean, there was
really
rows and rows of people, and I know they're not there for me. So then all of a sudden I walk over and I'm like, all right, Rory's up next at the tee shot. And before they announce him, they say, all right, let's everybody sing happy birthday. And I'm like, what the hell? Like, what
no way.
Loud, resounding happy birthday song. And I'm like, this is going to suck like a lot. And he hits this drive so far right and just smashed. And walking off the tee, I looked at Joe, and I'm like, I thought it might be in the trees. Maybe it was in the rough. And I asked him, I was like, you think that's good? He goes, I don't really know. We got there, and it's dead middle of the fairway, like 40 past me. I'm like, all right.
Wow.
So then the next hole, I hit the fairway again, and he hits it way, way left. And I looked at Joe. I said, I don't know if I should be saying good shot. I haven't said a word to Rory yet. I want to, whatever. And he's like, so Joe, being Joe, walks over to Rory, goes, hey, man, we don't know if we should be saying good shot to any of those. And Rory laughed. He goes, yeah, I'm not really sure. I hit it there like yesterday. And we're like, all right, when we get up there, middle of the fairway, like 70 yards. I'm like, dang, this guy is good. But I birdied number 2, and kind of off we went. It was an interesting day. They sang happy birthday to him on almost every hole.
Really?
I was putting on 14. I could hear them from 17 singing it across the pond. So I think there's 2 things that really help. One, Rory is the best dude in the world. Like, he does not come off like he has a lot of swag, but he doesn't come off better than you in his attitude. So he makes you kind of fit in. I asked him on a few holes, I said, do you like them singing you happy birthday? He goes, it's all right. Like, it's not like he's trying to big dog anybody. Right. And second, some of those happy birthdays while I'm trying to play put a little chip on my shoulder, like, all right, man, like, I get that you guys don't want me to beat him, but I'm going to beat him. Like, I'm going to find a way to beat him. And I ended up losing him for the day, but I really felt like I held my own. And the best thing Joe said after the whole tournament was done, after Saturday was done, was he said, before we play that round, I knew this was either going to be the best thing in the world for you or the worst thing for the tournament.
Yeah.
And the best thing, because when I walked on that tee on Sunday, I didn't feel a tenth as nervous as I did on Saturday. I felt like I just went toe-to-toe with kind of the guy right now. Not that I beat him, but I really did hold my own, and I felt a lot more, just so quickly, a lot more comfortable in my own skin. I mean, it would be like doing anything. It'd be like playing one-on-one with Michael Jordan and not losing 11-0. And you're like, wow, man, maybe I could do this. And that's how I felt on Sunday, and it really helped because the pressure never felt more than it did on Saturday for whatever reason.
Did you thank Rory for your win the next day?
God, no, I didn't thank him. And the next time I play with him in the third to last group on Sunday at the playoff event, and he beat me by like 10. I played terrible. He played good. I was like, dang, this is why you're really that guy.
Hey, well, you got yours to Quail Hollow, so who cares?
Yeah, it's all right.
So when we watch, again, somebody paired with Phil, somebody paired with Tiger, especially in the random pairings on Saturday, Sunday, what should the viewer look for or just keep in mind about somebody in your position? Again, we just assume, oh, you're a pro golfer, everything's fine. We only see the best shots from them anyways.
Right.
What should we know about how the gallery moves? What should we know about the sounds? What should we know about just the overall energy that you're feeling paired with somebody like that.
Yeah, I definitely like, hearing the stories about Tiger back in the day playing with, I guess everyone compared to him is a relative unknown. I'll watch the TV and watch the crowd move after he taps in, and if I was him, I'd tap in as many times as I could to make it harder for the other guy. I've always been, like I was saying before, I've always been a type of guy to try to build a chip on my shoulder. So if people did move, it like locked me in better. I felt like it helped me in a weird way because it would be like me trying to spite them for not getting to watch me. It like made me feel like I was my biggest fan, which is what I'd been preaching to myself for months before. And I'm gonna make you want to watch me, and on Sunday you're gonna be watching me and not him. So it's like one of those weird mind tricks. But that's what I look for now when I watch people play with Rory. And even, when Rory hits a driver, people are oohing and awing. And then if I have to hit it second, and for good reason, goodness, I ooh and awe. But for if I have to hit second, like it's hard to back that up. I mean, there's no way I'm never gonna hit a driver like that. So it's like, it's kind of watching to see if somebody like over swings or starts to get out of their game. I thought that's a very difficult thing to do with him, because there was holes like number 9. He hit driver over the tree and I hit 3-wood. And I mean, I didn't hit it good, but I had 7-iron in and he hit lob wedge in. Because like I have to hit it. I mean, I hit 1 drive, maybe 2 drives that day that I caught really, really, really solid when he also hit him solid. And I mean, I was still at least 10 behind him. I got 1 drive to where he was on the same, we were like the same distance, but he must not have hit it honestly great, because some of these
he hit 3-wood, I think.
He might have hit 3-wood. But like, he takes these lines that like I couldn't, like there's just no way. They're like unfathomable. So you have to, if you watch and like see if these guys can stay in their game plan, like laying up on certain holes. When maybe Rory hits driver, like I find that to be impressive. We did that on 8 and it was huge because he hit a perfect drive and had no chance. And I ended up having a wedge in the middle of the fairway. And he even said it to me, he goes, I wish I would have laid up. And like, that's when I started being like, all right, man, like play your game. Like he can't do anything. If he plays great, yeah, he'll probably smoke you. But if you play great, you're right in this golf tournament. And it's not like he could block me. It's not like his drives can really affect me if I don't let them affect me. So I try to watch that with guys now. Like, do you see someone like me in that position, like a relative unknown? Do you see them just continue to play the same way they've been playing, swing at the same pace, stuff like that, instead of seeing somebody just grab driver and swing as hard as they can because Rory just did it? That's Rory's game, man. That's why he's so good. He's the best with the driver. But not everybody has. I mean, nobody has that gear. I guess maybe 2 people, but most people don't. So you have to remember what you're good at, what got you into the second to last group with Rory in that case. That's what I tried to do mentally.
Right. So when you talk about staying in your game and the game plan, what would be something that you would do that you've done in the past that you've just thrown it all away and you knew after the round, you just, I can't believe I went and did that. I tried to do this thing. What would be an example of that?
A lot of it to me happens, it happens when there's like almost like one of those 50-50 shots. Let's say you're in the trees, or let's say you're even 50-50 off a tee to hit driver or 3-wood or iron or whatever it is. There's going to be a time in those situations where you make a bad decision that leads to a bad swing and not just a bad swing. And for me, a lot of it is, hitting it, going for a green and 2, or even just going for a pin and 2, where I feel like in this exact situation, Rory's been doing it. So now I need to take my chance. Mm-hmm. It's like, if you could put on the blinders and be playing by yourself, and could you just keep doing what you think is like the mathematical best option? Like, 'cause his mathematical best option on a lot of these shots is to hit driver, or is to hit a long iron at the pin, 'cause he hits it, so well and so high. But what I always like absolutely love about Jordan Spieth is Jordan just does what he thinks is like the right play over and over and over and over and over again. So at the end of 72 holes, look who's won, Jordan, even though Rory might hit it farther and whatever, higher, all this stuff. So for me, it's like, and I see it with amateur golfers all the time, taking on a risk that sure you could do, but like, was this the time to do it? Like, was this the time that you needed to take that on? And I think that's the most beautiful part of winning golf. I think it's the hardest. I think that's what obviously Tiger must be the best at, besides just being a better golfer. But like, he can time out when to take a risk, as opposed to just taking one because he feels like he's becoming impatient. Like, there's going to be a time. And I asked Justin Thomas Sunday morning or no, Saturday night at Wells Fargo. I was like, yo, man, like, hit me with some advice. Like, you've won here, you've won a lot. You're an amazing golfer. And he said, it takes a lot less than you think to win a golf tournament. So don't force it. And I did that on the 7th hole. I hit a drive. I knew I could pull off the second shot to go for the green. I decided not to. It hit me in my head that's what he said. I pitched it down the fairway, ended up making birdie anyways. And that's when that's where I would have messed up before, thinking that there's a specific way in how to win. Like, there's a blueprint. There's no blueprint. Like, play your percentages, see if your game holds up. If you lose, you lose. But if you're going to stay in the golf tournament longer, and there's going to be times you could take a chance. I mean, like anything in life, you could take your chance, but it better be well thought out.
Yeah, that's great advice. And again, something that we don't think about as viewers.
Yeah.
Now we know the second guy you have to send a thank you gift to.
Yeah, JT got a
Rory and JT got magnums of Chateau Lafite coming to your house soon.
Yeah, exactly.
So 8 months before this tournament, you are ranked 1,282nd in the world. 1,282nd in the world. Going into the week, you're outside the top 400 going into Quail Hollow that week.
Yeah.
You overcome Rory on Saturday. Clearly, you shot 63 on Friday, so the game's there. You overcome the Rory speed bump on Saturday, and now we go into Sunday. And the weather's suspect. I watched the final round. I remember that rain delay. It was a little over an hour. You had to do media during your round. I think Joel did it, and you did it. You interviewed with Amanda. And, I mean, break down Sunday. You knew the weather was coming in. You knew it was going to be dicey, most likely some kind of delay. And what was that morning like for you leading up to that final?
The morning is rough, man. It's like time stands still. You just want to get to the course. Finally, time arrives, drove to the course. Was nervous, but like I said, a little less so than the day before. Just because I felt like I kind of overcome a bit of a roadblock.
Yeah.
I was excited to play. I mean, shoot, this is what you live for a little bit. But yeah, playing, wasn't sure when we were going to get the rain. So I just tried to focus on just, obviously playing golf. I knew it was going to be all right in the beginning. And when we got to the first tee, it was really windy. And I was like, man, it's going to be a hard day, which I liked because I was hitting the ball really well and all that. So
you're playing with Duff, right? In the final
I was playing with Duff, and so it's good to play with him too. I mean, we've played a lot this year together, but he's a good guy to play with. He keeps to himself, especially in like a big moment. He keeps himself. I kept to myself, and he's also a robot, so it's nice to watch somebody just doing something. Makes it look so easy.
Yeah. And his demeanor is so calm. It's not like you're playing with I mean, it's Duff. Anything could happen. A bomb could go off, and he would just walk.
Exactly.
Spit in a little cup and keep on walking by.
It's like nothing ever bugs him. So I tried to feed off that a little. And finally, we had a couple rain delays the day before, so at least I had felt what that feels like. But yeah, all of a sudden we catch a rain delay. I've got 6 feet for par on 14. Cannot be a worse time to get one. And it was really weird. I went in to the locker room, and the day before I'd done something similar where I just sit by myself more or less. Because, I mean, the guys around the lead are people who don't know me from Adam, and I don't really need to be feeling lesser about myself. So that last rain delay, I sit in there and I'm sitting by myself, and I don't really know if I should text anybody about anything. I did this media thing that I look like a ghost in because I didn't want to do it. I didn't know what to say. I didn't even really know where I was at in the tournament. So it's like this whole thing. I finally sit down. I text my wife, or my fiance at the time, a little something just to talk, or I talked to her on the phone. And then I text my coach. Finally, I was like, all right, I'm just going to be out with it. And I texted him. I said, I think I'm going to throw up. And then he texted me. He goes, all right, good. I'm drinking a beer. I'm like, all right. So it's just like sometimes getting it off your chest helps. I've learned that a lot in the last year. Telling Joe, yo, man, I'm nervous today. He's like, all right, man, like all good. Like, it's good for him to know. It's good for me not to play Mr. Cool.
Right.
I'll try to be as cool as I can on the golf course, but it's all right to admit. And then all of a sudden I decided to go sit in this little area where Jason Day and Rory and Rose and kind of all the guys were sitting in. And I sat in there. I'm sitting at a table by myself, and I'm sitting there and I'm like kind of having a moment. I'm like, man, what? I'm like in a weird room right now where it's like all these guys and then like me. And I'm trying to tell myself, I'm like, yeah, well, they're all chasing you, man. Like at some point you got to remember that there's a reason for that. And I was like, all right. So then I went out, to the range, re-warmed up, and like it's weird. I've tried to say it before, and I'm sure a lot of other people feel the same, but when I watch people finish golf tournaments on TV, I kind of think to myself at times, like, how'd you even pull that back? How did you hit that shot? Like, I would be so nervous. But every time I'm ever in a big spot, and I feel like anybody who's great, obviously you, like, at what they do, once you put a microphone in your hand, or once I put a golf club in my hand, it all rushes away a little bit. Like, I feel very calm. And I make that putt on 14 after an hour wait. And I knew at that moment
Were you practicing 6-footers on the green?
I practiced the same putt. I had actually misread it when I had first looked at it, because I looked at it when we left and then was like, okay, I'm going to hit that putt a bunch on the putting green before I leave. So I went and hit the same putt like eight times, but I thought that it was more of a right center putt when I got back over there, because it was raining when we left. When I got back over there, it was actually a left center, but it was like the same. I tried to do the same downhill, whatever. And so I had practiced it. I had a good feel for it, got down, waited to hit, finally hit it. When I made it, I was like, all right, dude, like, at the time I was like, you got the biggest balls I've ever seen. So I was like, you won. Like, if you could do that, you could do anything. Like, just now let's go have a little bit of fun and kind of be you for the rest of the day. And it was nice to do that, because that putt felt like, it's weird, but I had so many struggles. I was 1,200 whatever trillion in the world. I was 400 something that week, but I had felt like I'd overcome a lot of hurdles for a while. I used to be pretty good at this, and then I went through a little phase. But at that moment, it was weird. It was like, all right, here's your last hurdle, and it's not going to be easy. And so one of my friends said it was like Mother Nature was heat checking me. Like, so I needed to come out of it tough. So I kind of looked at it like that. Like, here's your last one. Like, all those nights sitting in a hotel room where you hated golf and hated everything, but you fought through it. I was like, this is your last one. So you're going to get through this one, same toughness you did before. And this one's just going to be a little bit more fun at the end, because we're going to have a big celebration and a little bit more money.
Amazing. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about the lows. You know, you 8 months before, this is your high, we know, but 8 months before, you're 7,000th in the world, maybe 12,000th in the world. You missed quite a bit of cuts.
I think I missed all the cuts.
I think you missed all the cuts the year before. I think your net earnings were $18,000 on.
18,008, I think.
Gotta
the 8 was important, bro. The 8 was important.
That's 2 Subway sandwiches right there.
Exactly.
And so you go from that point. So give me the breakdown when you're that low. And I, read a wonderful quote about you where you said, when I hit my low, I found a shovel and I started digging and got even lower.
Never low enough, man.
Where was your head at during that stretch? Because, we all know what self-doubt feels like. And again, it's really easy to look back on it now and, everybody just assumes everything's great and, you win this tournament and, of course he was meant to do it. But what does it feel like to be in a hotel room after your 7th missed cut, knowing that you've got 10 more tournaments and you might miss them all? What does that feel like? What's that low?
Sure. It's tough because it's not like you just that's kind of what my joke or whatever about it wasn't a joke when I used to think it in my head, but about finding the shovel when I thought I hit rock bottom. The point is that it's a long journey to bottom. Like let's just say tomorrow I go practice and I hit it bad. It's not like all of a sudden I'm like, oh man, I lost it. It's like, all right. And then you do it for a while and then I'd have good days and then go back down. So like, it was just this long journey to low where I just I went from not playing well. And that was the problem. And then I went from not thinking well and then not playing well. And then when those kind of combined, it takes like a lot to get going back up again. I think that was the difficult part. I thought I did a great job of, I reunited with my coach from college. That helped. We basically put a long plan in place, and I thought I did a great job, and he did a great job, and Joe did a great job of sticking to that plan. It was hard actually at the time not having Joe as my caddy, although he was still one of my best friends to talk to, but you kind of feel like a shell of yourself. It's like you are one of the most talented and creative people, right? So
Thank you.
That's your identity. My identity was always, I'm really good at golf. Well, I lost it. Like it wasn't me at all. It would be like you no longer feeling like you again. You could have cool stuff in your life, but you're not you. So it's hard to like walk around and think, all right, like I can it just takes kind of everything out of you, and it makes you kind of isolate. Like I isolated myself. I would hit balls on the range by myself. I'd try and like keep away from everybody because I didn't feel like me. And finally my game, I believed, and my coach believed too, that if my game started to come around, my head would come around, but the game needed to go first. Cause I'm not a person that can trick myself into thinking, oh yeah, I'm still the man. I'm still the man. Like I need results. Mm-hmm. So I started to play better, and it started at home. Like I had struggled. At home is different. Like I'll still shoot 1 under, 2 under, 1 over, even, whatever. It won't look that bad. And then I'll get to a tournament where I'm not as comfortable, and that's where I'll shoot 3 over, 4 over, back to back days.
Gotcha.
And so I started to get home, and I'd start shooting like 8 or 9 under here and there, not obviously nobody does it super consistent, but I'm playing some rounds where I'm like, all right, like I have this thing locked. And then I go on the road and it would be a bit of a struggle, but I knew that something was clicking. And I just had to tough it out for a while, and finally started seeing that happen in tournaments, and finally started seeing what my work from home go to the tour, started putting together some pretty low rounds. Obviously even that week, like shooting 63 was sweet, but I played really well a few weeks prior. So started to get that. And then that's why it all kind of, the toughest part about the lows to me is when you start kind of losing who you are. You don't know if you're ever back in that moment, if you're still like that dude. I always thought that when I was in the moment, I'm that dude. Give me the freaking ball. I'm the guy. Like I'm taking the shot, like, and it's over. And that was the hardest thing, that was the most depressing thing, was I didn't know if I had that at all in me anymore, because it had been so long. And like these moments now that I'm like looking forward to is like just a putt to make the cut, not like a putt to win or whatever. And to be in that position, like I said, on Saturday, and be able to play Rory, it's not like we're, staring each other eye to eye. It's not like it's just me versus him, but like for a little bit of it, it feels like it just a little. And I felt like, man, all right, like I still am that guy. I'm not scared of this moment at all. I like it. I'm nervous, but I like it. Yeah. And that was nice. But the lows really I really wanted to like be an inspiration to people who have struggled in their job. I know that, my family's had struggles in their jobs. My friends have had struggles in their job. I didn't look at it as just golf. I wanted people to think like, just because you're having a tough time, if you just believe in yourself, like this stuff can come back around. And I wanted to prove that like that was real. I didn't know it for a while, but like I wanted people to know. That was like my big goal. Like if, even if my sister, I have a little sister, if she was struggling with her job, like I wanted at some point someone to be like, oh yeah, like, or her to be like, yeah, well, Max did it, so I could do it, and stuff like that. So I just tried to push all of the negatives out and finally start to be positive, which took a while. Mm-hmm. And once I started being positive, and like I said, started being my own biggest fan, everything kind of started to change. Because when I'd have a bad day, it was no longer doom and gloom. It was like, yeah, well, I in here still think I'm the man. So I think I'm the best. So I'm going to keep, going out. If Rory shoots 78 tomorrow, you don't bat an eye. It's like, yeah, it's Rory. He's going to come back. I had to do that for myself. So that was the journey out of it. But the lows stink. And I think everybody has a low in their life at some point that they can relate to. And it's hard, but it goes back to like that Rocky quote about how many times you're going to get punched in the face. You just got to keep getting back up. And it's like, that's just kind of how I had to look at it. And I think everyone who's struggled with something has kind of gotten out of it that way.
That's amazing. What point did you know that you had the tournament? I mean, you won with a 3-shot lead.
Yeah.
Was it 17? Was it 16? Was it 18, the final putt? At what point did you actually start to realize, wow, this is real?
Yeah.
If I just don't hit one into the grandstands, then this is mine.
I swear it was the putt on 14, walk into 15 and hitting the drive, because I hit that putt on 14. That's when I realized I was like, you have some stones on you. Mm-hmm. And then I kind of pimped the tee shot on 15, didn't pick up the tee and just started walking. And like, I was like, man, who is this guy? Like, where has this guy been for so long? And that's when I mean, literally, like I was, I birdie 15, I have a 4-shot lead with 3 to play. And I know they're hard, but if you just play away from the water, you can play them all bogeys. But like, just kind of figuratively, that's when I knew how to win it. I mean, we had funny talks like on 17, Joe is hilarious. We get up there on a long par 3, and we're over it, and Joe's like, all right, right edge of the green right there. And I'm like, are you sure? I said, I feel like there's a little wind off the left. He goes, no, it's not off the left. Just hit it right there. And I actually hit a really great shot, and the wind kind of takes it right, walk off the tee. I'm like, Joe, I'm not mad, but like, I think that wind's off the left. He goes, oh yeah, it's off the left, but I'm not telling you to aim any farther towards that water than you did. I'm like, all right, cool. And then on 18, I'll hit the fairway and hit the green. And, at this point I have like 5 putts or something to win, which is nice. And, Joe, I have like 70 feet, and Joe's like, all right, I'm going to read this putt to, like, I like it going through here. And I'm like, Joe, like, I don't really care. I was like, I just can't putt it in the water. And I think he listen, he goes, I'm going to putt it. I'm going to read this putt for you to make it. But anything else, he's like, putt it however you want, but I'm still going to read it. I'm like, all right, cool. So that was like the fun part, like that, where I literally knew I actually did it.
Yeah.
So, the 15 tee, walking off that tee, I was like, there's no way after all of this I can lose this golf tournament.
So what's the feeling like on 18? And I've always wondered this. You have a 3-shot lead. Your approach shot hits anywhere on the green. What's that feeling like when that happens?
It's kind of eerie, man, because
everybody cheers. The crowd knows it's over.
Yeah.
Statistically, there's really no way that anything can happen once the ball hits the green.
Yeah. You kind of picture, in an odd way, winning a golf tournament, like you make a putt or you got a 2-putt, or like, like when we're sitting on the green, everybody's done this. Oh, this putt 8 feet to win the US Open, this putt 10 feet to win the Wells Fargo. Like, that's how you picture it. You don't think, okay, we have 7 putts from here to win the Wells Fargo. So like, it's kind of nice because it's a release. Hit the green, walking up, and Joe did literally the coolest thing anybody could ever do for me, and I will never be able to thank him enough. I'm walking up to the green, me and him are just chit-chatting, loving life, smiling, laughing, killing time, waiting for Duff to hit his shot. And as I'm getting close to the green, I feel Joe lagging behind me, and I turn around and I look at him, and he's kind of now 10 yards behind me, like kind of stopped, and he yells to me, he goes, soak it in, dude, soak it in. And everyone's kind of cheering, and it's like I got kind of choked up because it really felt like it was fun to have that moment. Like I said, I look at things so, like, I guess maybe too grandiose, but like everything, like I could just, like, it was a flashback of all this like really bad golf, or not even bad golf, bad like emotion and bad feeling. And golf used to be my favorite place in the world, and for a while a golf course was my least favorite place in the world. And now, like, I have this moment where it all felt like it was like a movie, like here it all comes, like we've come full circle. So for him to do that and give me kind of a moment, although I would have done I would have walked it with him the same way, we would have loved it. But that was cool because, like you said, mathematically I couldn't lose at that point. So everyone knew it, and it was cool to feel. It wasn't the cheers of people, it was just like I'd played a lot of golf in front of nobody. All of a sudden now people are like gets to join in something that I thought was kind of a full circle moment. And that was pretty cool. And like I said, I couldn't thank Joe enough for that.
Oh, that's incredible. Well, he is clearly one of your biggest fans.
Yeah.
The conversation we had yesterday, I mean, he just couldn't stop talking about your incredible ball striking ability and how, and he's come out with it in different interviews where he said he's known for forever that, you were that guy that you could win on that stage in those circumstances. And obviously you proved him right. And it's an unbelievable thing to have support like that, especially from somebody who you've known for so long, who's always believed in you. And, we've all been through ups and downs, and it's hard to still believe in somebody when they're, 7,000th in the world and need to hit driving range sessions by themselves. I mean, that's just, it's awesome that, number one, you knew you were going to come back. That was your mission, but you had somebody who was right by your side to do it. So that's just so cool. So you win, you're, minus 15, you shoot 67. It's the lowest score of the day. I think there was another 67 that day. But to do it in those circumstances was incredible. I saw your social media post, and this probably goes back to, from the low to the high and everything in between, and that moment walking up to 18. But the post you put up about your mom and, that whole situation, I mean, I got goosebumps reading it, teary-eyed, being a father, being a son, being somebody who cares about their family so much. It was so incredibly emotional for me reading it. What was that like for you, and what was that moment like?
Yeah, it was cool. I remember, my family, like most families, has had its ups and downs. We've had a down for a while. I was going through my stuff. My family was going through their stuff. I remember the day my mom called me and told me she was going to take a second job, which was totally fine. My family, like most families, is just, grind it out. Everyone's just going to, no complaints, just going to do it. I didn't like the job she was going to take on as pushing food around at a prison. My mom is 60 something years old, so it wasn't like the greatest job,
And
but she's
when was this?
this was in college, so probably 2013.
Okay.
2012, 2013. Her friend did it, and they're our close friends, so it's like no big deal. But I remember like the first week, she would do it 3 times a week, 4 times a week. First week, I called her and she was crying. She's like, "This is a scary ass job." I'm like, "Yeah, man," and it made me uncomfortable. But we needed money. I mean, I'm costing them money. I'm in college, so they're I love both my parents. They work so hard and they've instilled that in me, but I also don't want them to have to work. But yeah, so it was always my dream. It was my jokey dream, but I would joke about it. I was like, I'm going to get my mom out of jail at some point. So I always wanted to do it. And I know when I posted that, and I not that everyone's going to listen to it or care, but that responded. But when I posted it, a lot of people said, "Man, like I made pretty good money my first few years. And yes, I could have paid for my mom to be out of that job. But the difference is I wanted my mom to know that she never needed to have that job going forward." And I think that's the difficult part. If you're 24 years old and you make, my first check was $136,000, which is awesome. That's not going to sustain my mom's rest of her life. That's not a reasonable amount of money. So I needed to get to a point where I knew that I would be able to cover that forever. Mm-hmm. And that was my goal. So when I finally did have that moment of, an accomplishment where I could afford to do that. What's funny about her is I told her, I was like, all right, Lacey was the one who suggested. She's like, "We need to get your mom out of jail." I'm like, "All right." And so I suggested to her, and she's like, no, it's okay. Like, she didn't mind. I'm like, "All right, well, this is the deal. Like, it's going to happen. So you just need to tell me what it's going to cost and we can take care of it." But it felt very good. My mom, like I'm sure so many others, especially in golf, but in every walk of life, my mom was the one who drove me to golf practice, picked me up, drove me to tournaments, picked me up, all these things. She like lives and dies by the golf, and she put in so many hours like my dad. But it was cool. I think every son like is a mama's boy in a way. And
Absolutely.
my dad could have 8 jobs. He could tough it out. My mom, I don't want her working on her feet all day long, so that was cool for me. I just want to post it to give people something good to think about. But I know that so many people have done great things for theirs too. And I wanted to kind of be a part of it. And it felt good because, it feels good every day. Cause she just said like with this, coronavirus going around, like that would have been a terrible place to be. So it feels doubly cool now to know that would have been even worse. Absolutely. So it was nice. Yeah. I mean, everybody likes to do things for the people they love. So that was nice for me.
How did you tell her when you made the final decision, you got all the logistics worked out? Was that a moment, or was it a phone call, or how did you break the great news?
Yeah, it was a phone call. We were on speakerphone with her. I'd actually texted my sister because my mom wasn't really acting like it was, she needed it to happen. And Maddie, my sister, she was like, helping me out with it. So finally Lacey and I called my mom and was like, "Yo, listen, like you're not doing this anymore." And she goes, "Okay, well, I'm going to finish the week." Cause she does a carpool with her friend Colleen, and she's like, "I'm gonna finish the week." I'm like, "All right, man, but like you're done after this, like we're done." And she's very thankful. It was really fun the week after, because all those days where she would wake up in the morning and feel like crap before she went to like her main job, she would like be like, "Man, I feel refreshed and like I could have afternoon to myself." I'm like, "Thank you. Like this is what we've been trying to preach to you for a while, of why this job isn't that great for your body." And so it was funny. But yeah, she, like I said, she made it seem no big deal. She was super happy and she cried or whatever, but she makes it seem like it's, she could have 3 jobs if she needed to, which she probably could, but I would rather not.
Well, you're a great son, and
you.
For everybody, like you said, we love our parents, and good or bad, all the ups and downs, and everybody has their own issues, but to take care of people that have done so much for you, brothers, sisters, parents, aunts, uncles, cousins, best friends, whatever it may be, it's such an incredible feeling. But it's also awesome to know that your mom wanted to just finish out the week and grind it out. She was super happy to stay in it. And I mean, that just speaks so many volumes.
Yeah, she's awesome.
So you went on Sunday, and I feel like everybody assumes that night that most guys go and just rage. But you have so much media to do. There's just so many things logistically that are going on. What was your Sunday night like after you won?
Well, yeah, I was with you, man. I thought I was going to get off the course and call you and be like, Kelley, meet me at Vegas. Or I was going to be like, remember that Del Frisco's, we're burning it to the ground. Like, I thought that's what was going to happen. And of course, the only person that ended up going was Joel. Joel got to go there. I was busy. Yeah. It's like, hey, you finish it, especially because of the rain delay. I didn't finish at the golf course till maybe 8. Joe was staying at a host family house. So my hotel was up, so I had all my bags. So I was like, all right, I'll go with you. Like, we're not going to the bars. It's Sunday night. Like, what's going to happen on Sunday night? Yeah. So we go back to the house. His host family was so cool. We went up, he's got a bar upstairs. We started drinking, and I mean, I'm on the phone a lot, but we're telling stories, drinking, having fun. Kyle Stanley was there. It was really cool. Well, the best part about the whole thing though was Joe, the dad basically forced Joe to drink a bottle of wine, Opus One wine. I never had it before. I heard it's very good. He basically made him drink it in 40 minutes. Like, Joe downed this bottle of wine. He didn't want to down it. He's like, I want to enjoy it. So Joe was sick. Joe was sick. So we go to bed that night. I maybe slept for 2 hours. We go to sleep on bunk beds, which was tight. I had to drive
in the host house.
In the host house, I had to drive Joe to the airport in the morning with his rental car because he told me he couldn't drive. Safety first. We get in the airport. He is dead, like dead. And I don't feel good either, but I got the adrenaline like through me. But yeah, the party wasn't like a full blown party, but it was, when I look back on it, it's not how I pictured it going, but it's exactly how I would have wanted it to go. Like, it was just, I got my moment with Joe. We had like a 20 minutes to just talk. I got to enjoy it with other people. I got to be on my phone and talk to my family and my wife. And I got to also see Joe be sick, which I think
that's awesome.
Kind of the cherry on top.
So did they ship the trophy, or did you carry the trophy?
No, they shipped it, man. The funniest part about the whole thing was, I don't know if you get it, but after I drink, I get like the anxiety, like the hangover anxiety, kind of. And I get to the airport, and I mean, Lord knows I am not famous, but at that moment in that airport on Monday morning, I was kind of famous. People were coming up to me. I'm taking pictures. I look like hell. I think I'm going to throw up. I'm getting a little anxiety. So I get to the self-check-in area, and I'm doing my card, and my card's not working, like whatever. So I finally asked some lady to come over. She, super nice, helps me. Well, halfway through, somebody else points out what I had just done. I won the golf tournament. She starts freaking out. I'm taking pictures with her, taking pictures with her. All of a sudden, like, the clock is running, and like, I'm going to miss my flight. Right. I kind of had a mini meltdown, like, of the anxiety where like, hey, like, I love doing this. This is super tight. Like, I got to get on this plane. I got to get home. I got to get in my bed. But everyone was so cool. But that was really funny. I mean, like, Joe is just like laying on the golf bag. We are famous for our 20 minutes, and but it was a fun. It's a fun way to do it. You picture Rory gets on his jet like years off. Like, I'm just sitting in a normal seat with my random strangers next to me. It was weird.
Southwest Boarding Group C.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
That's so awesome. And so you took the next week off, right?
Took the next week off, yeah.
Any big purchases or anything where you're like, ooh, I got a little bit of money once the wire hits, and you might get a little crazy. Anything dumb? Anything?
Nothing dumb, man. I wish I was cool enough to have something dumb, but I didn't. I was fortunate. I had what I wanted. We probably went out to dinner a few more times that week. But yeah, I didn't get to do like the reckless spending, which I guess was good. I thought that my reckless spending was flying all the way to New York the next week, first class.
There you go. Hey, everybody's got a splurge.
Everyone's got
Southwest Boarding Group C to first class. There you go.
Yeah. Do you have a reckless spending?
I don't.
Reckless purchase.
I have. If I get a certain size a check, I buy a watch.
See, that's tight. I'm not a watch guy.
Yeah. I mean, it was just something where, if that was the only reason that I would go and splurge like that. I will get, I kind of do the same thing with a different amount on shows. I'll buy a new guitar.
See, that's tight.
But my justification behind both those are I'll have the watches forever, the guitars forever. I can pass them on to my children. When this whole thing falls apart that I do, I can sell them at pawn
Yeah,
shops and,
when I was playing Riviera that year, right before Quail Hollow, my best friend Peter was out, and he's got a Rolex or whatever that he had done the same thing, had a big sale for his commercial real estate, bought a Rolex. So he's a big watch guy. I've never really been one. We go to Rolex down in LA, and we go in there, and the guy is, I mean, I don't dress very, I don't look like I have anything to my name. So we go in there, and the guy's kind of doing the office Dwight Schrute thing where he's not really giving us the time of day, which is all good. I don't care. But we're looking, and Pete's rolling up his sleeve to show that he's got a watch. Like, we're kind of, so we leave there, and I was like, man, it just doesn't feel that good to be disrespected. And I will say, when I got home that week, I was like, I'm flying to LA. I'm gonna go buy a watch right in front of this guy. So he knows I could afford it. That's where my head got to.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Okay, there was a quote that you had. I'm going to read it. You said, and I love this, you go, I'm tough. I don't know all about my golf game all the time, but I'm tough. I was really happy with myself today. I told Joe on one of the holes, I felt like I was going to throw up, but my hands felt unbelievable on the club. So what does it feel like to be so nervous and to really have that physical nervousness, when your stomach gets all tight and crazy, but be able to convert in those situations? I mean, I think all of us who step on any kind of stage have the ability, I call it repurposing the adrenaline. People say, do you get nervous? And I say,
like that.
I say, I don't get nervous anymore per se. Let me rephrase. I still get nervous every single time, but I now know how to take those nerves, which is really just kind of an adrenaline hit. I now know how to take that, calm it down, but then repurpose it and use it actually to my advantage. Early on in my career, I had no idea how to do it, and it would overtake me. My fingers would get tight. I'd get nervous. I'd sweat, whatever the symptoms of letting it take over for you. But I can also kind of power through it, like with more physical sports per se. You can take that adrenaline and brute force and do it recklessly. You have to do it in a very surgical way. Right. And the adrenaline probably doesn't really help you that much because, you have to repurpose it almost in a precision type of way. How do you go from feeling like you want to throw up to converting in the highest pressure situation in your sport?
Yeah, I think that's the beauty of golf. I really like that. I'm going to steal that, repurposing the adrenaline. I think there's two ways. One, I look at a positive in the adrenaline with golf is if I'm focused enough, I can stand on the tee and think, I don't need to swing that hard because I have this extra juice going. So it like almost makes me feel like I'm going slower, which usually, in golf results in a better swing, a better result. So Absolutely. I feel like I can tone it back. And second, when I'm real nervous, especially driving to a course or like in this situation, like going out to 14 or even staying on 18, like in the two biggest moments I thought I had, I try to break it down super rational in my brain. I think, all right, like you feel sick, you're really nervous. Yeah. Okay. Why? It's like, well, this is a really big putt. And I was like, well, that's pretty cool, isn't it? It's like, yeah, it's pretty freaking cool. Like, why are you nervous? Well, I'm playing with Rory Mcelroy today in the second last group. It's like, yeah, that's tight. And it's like, yeah, that is pretty tight. So it's like, let's embrace it. Like, let's not be afraid of it. So I also think that when you are that nervous, especially if it's positive energy, if you're saying that you're repurposing it, it's not nervous because you think you're going to fail. It's nervous because you're at a big stage. I think that's cool because you can see the positives in that. Like, that's why I've always played better when I'm near a lead than I do when I'm kind of like in 25th, or maybe not always play better, but I feel like I do kind of step up because somewhere in my brain, I'm like, yeah, dude, you're playing really well. Like, obviously, like that's why you're in this spot. Right. So like, that's maybe how I repurpose it a little is I look at it rationally, like, yeah, I'm nervous, but it's good nerves, as opposed to like when you're playing really bad, or maybe you didn't prepare right for a set. And it's like, yeah, I'm nervous now because I just didn't do what I was supposed to do. In this case, when you're in contention, it's like, yeah, I'm just nervous because this is awesome. I'm not nervous because I don't feel unprepared. I feel nervous because I actually might be prepared. Like even at the PGA the next week, I mean, Brooks ended up going out and shoot like 7 under that first day. But I walked off that golf course. It was weird. And I shot even the first day. It was my first major as a pro. And I shot even, which was a very good score that day. And the next morning, Joe was asking me why I was super nervous. And like, I was like going really fast. And I was agitated. And I realized after the round, we ended up playing good again, shot like even, and obviously not even near the lead. Brooks was like 12 under, but Joe was like, dude, why were you so like agitated this morning? And it hit me. I was like, because after that first day, I thought I could win a major. Like for some reason, like it hit me. And that was where like these nerves and like this adrenaline came from. I wasn't used to that one. Yeah. When you're in contention, it feels a little bit more understandable, but that was a weird one. So it's like you said, it's like, can you be aware of that? And then can you turn into something good? Yeah. And for me, just turning into something good just means like, hey, like this is cool. This is fun. This is why we practice. It's not like a direct, besides maybe swinging slower, it's not a direct like physical feeling. It's more of a, kind of an appreciation for the nerves.
Right.
My dad and my uncle used to say pressure is a privilege. I always like that one because it's like, yeah, like
pressure
this is
a
cool.
privilege.
I'd love to have a job where I could feel like this all the time.
Explain that. Pressure is a privilege.
It's like I just in golf, let's say if I'm never under the gun, if there's never pressure on my golf, if I'm never nervous, I probably didn't do anything good. So it's a privilege. Like, and I appreciate that more than anybody when I was struggling to then all of a sudden, even not even counting winning, like just getting close to the lead at Pebble or playing okay at Phoenix, like all of a sudden feeling some pressure is like, man, I freaking like this. Like, this is why I play. Like, this is, like I said, this is a privilege. This is not something to be taken for granted. Not everyone who plays the game of golf feels pressure. And I promise every single person who ever plays golf would love to feel like they're going to throw up on the 14th green at Quail Hollow, like you would, like that's because you're 15 or 16 under par.
Yeah, because it matters.
Sweet. Yeah, it's tight. So that's where you have to appreciate the unfortunate feeling of wanting to yak in front of people, but that's okay.
Pressure is a privilege. That's so powerful. What a quote. So the last thing I want to ask about the chipping lesson you had earlier in the week. A lot of amateurs just piece together swings and figure out different ways to get something going for them that day. What in the chipping specifically was missing for you, or did you tweak going into Quail Hollow?
Yeah, I'd had a really hard time controlling my low point, which in a less sophisticated way means like I was catching some thin and catching some fat. I wasn't like controlling my pivot, so my turn and all this stuff. But I didn't know that I wasn't doing that. I just knew I was struggling with my chipping. I had tried to do it by myself for a while, decided to finally get a lesson with Josh Gregory. And I think what it kind of did, especially just for that week, as we went forward, I'd have more bad chipping days here and there, but it got me out of just thinking, man, I'm not chipping well, to like all of a sudden I had a plan. Like I just had a plan on how to chip that week. And it was perfect timing for a week where I ended up hitting it great. And the short game was good enough. Essentially it was good. But it was good enough. It never felt like it was like a crutch. Like I felt like I was able to just kind of get up. I had a plan when I got to every chip. There was no second guessing, and then I could just go hit the shot. So I think in every part of golf, or every level of golfer, from a plus handicap to a 20 handicap, if you have a plan going into every shot, if you are working on something in your swing, but it's one thing all day, that helps. If you just decide, hey, I'm just only going to hit cuts all day, that helps. Like, but having a plan, if you get onto tees and look out into the fairway and think, all right, not sure if this is going to cut or draw, like more often than not, you're going to have a tough time because your brain and your swing are not like matched up at all. Gotcha. So that's where it really helped me, was I felt like I never had to second guess anything I was doing around the greens for the week. And then the rest of my game obviously was, good enough to kind of have it all come together as like a one big piece. Mm-hmm. But before, it was kind of like I felt a lot of pressure to hit greens, which made me miss more greens, because then when I got around the greens, I did not feel any kind of comfort or confidence.
Yeah. Where did the putter sit for you going into that week? I mean, your putter was on fire.
Yeah, it was the best. I mean, it's just
ever. I watched a lot of those highlights, and I mean, the putts you made were unbelievable. Yeah. Where was your putting at going into the tournament?
I've always felt like I have a very good putter. It does seem to go in waves. This season in 2020 has been the first time where it's finally been good for a while, since like college. But yeah, my pro career's been up and down. What's funny is we went from putting with a line to no line that week. Not sure why.
What does that mean?
I didn't use like the black line to like line up my ball. I just went straight up like feel.
Really?
It was weird.
And like, when was the last time you had done straight up feel?
Maybe in 2014. I would mess with it here and there, but most of the time I putt with my line down. I line it up.
Absolutely.
I get it all precise. That week, Joe.
So you're saying 5 to 6 years you've been lining up putts, and then you walk into this tournament and you're like, hey, I'm just gonna.
Joe told me, he's like, I want you to give it a shot because he's like, your stroke looks good. It feels like because for the previous few weeks I had putted well. Like I putted great at Pebble, but I kept telling him I feel uncomfortable. That's the other thing too with professional golf is like my numbers might not have said I was putting it poorly, and I didn't think I was putting it poorly, but I felt like maybe certain putts I was missing, and they didn't feel like – they felt like something was off. It's one thing when you're hitting a lot of good putts and just missing them, but you know you're rolling it well. It's another when you feel like even when you're making putts that don't feel that good. So I just felt tight. So he's like, well, let's loosen up. Try no line. I was like, all right. And I didn't like it. It makes you feel very exposed. And on the very first hole that week, I hit a 20-footer, which I'll putt with no line on occasion, 20-footer, left it like 2 feet short and tapped in with no line. And walking off the green, Joe goes, man, you must feel pretty comfortable about this no line thing because I thought you were going to line up the second one. I was like, maybe it's a thing. And it worked, but
wow,
it's one of those, who knows if I would have putted well with a line that week, who knows? It's one of those things. I've always felt like I have a really good putting stroke. And I think everybody in golf, there's times where you just need a little change, like just to get your brain, like I said, on a different wavelength. Yeah. And maybe that was my wavelength, but it was a weird, I don't do it anymore either. I have putt with a line still. So I can't do it anymore. I don't know, man.
You got to just go try it one tournament that you're feeling everything. Why wouldn't you?
It feels so weird.
I mean, how about that victory? And under those circumstances, you got to go back to no line, right? At some point.
I've bounced now. I'll bounce more now that I know that it does some good.
Wow.
That was a weird one.
So after the victory, what did you learn? What was different going forward? We talked about confidence. You go in and obviously play in your first major at Bethpage. You now are a PGA Tour winner. And not just in any tournament, but as we all know, I mean, Sergio was right up there on the leaderboard. Justin Rose was right up there on the leaderboard. Rory was right there. Duffner right there. Major winners just at your throat. What did you learn going forward? How did that change how you thought about your game, how you thought about yourself as a golfer?
Yeah, it was interesting. My coach and I had a really great conversation after. What I learned and what I have going forward is, and it's a weird quote, and I maybe I get it and other people will look at it as kind of a lack of confidence. What I learned playing with Rory in front of all those guys and winning on a big golf course, a very difficult tournament and a great field, like you said, I learned that there's a reason. Like, I don't think that I'm better than Rory Mcelroy at golf, and I think I'm okay and comfortable with myself to admit that. I think that week in and week out, he's probably better than me. But what I learned is that my good golf is as good as other people's good golf. And I think that's important. So does that mean that I don't think that I could ever get to world number one? No, but at that moment and at that time, I didn't think I was consistent enough. I thought I had a few too many holes, but I did learn that, man, if you get it going, and I don't mean like blackout perfect golf, because my staple, my game's iron play, and it always has been. And that week was not the best I've hit my irons by far, but everything came together. And I finally learned that I don't need to be perfect to win. My good golf is as good as other people's good golf. Now I just need to get my floor a lot higher. And I think I've done that in the last year or so going forward. And I think just knowing that really helped me get to where I am now. I'm a much better player than I was when I won the Wells Fargo. I'm a much more complete player, and I'm a much more confident player. And all those, the confidence played a huge part in making that happen. When you struggle, or even if you don't, if you just come up on tour, that's what's so impressive about these young guys, Colin and Matt and Victor and Scotty Scheffler. Like, there is a lot of doubt in just like, how good do you have to play to win a PGA Tour event? Because you picture it's got to be pretty dang good. Right. Well, that week, I mean, yes, I putt out of my mind good, but I've putt like that before, and I've hit the ball like that before. Like, it was not a blackout week, and it's nice to know that I don't need to black out to win a golf tournament by 3 shots over a good field, like not a field where I can make an excuse. So that's what I learned, and that's what's been comfortable. I know that if I go into an event now, I've heard Justin Thomas say this a lot, like, man, I didn't really think I had my game going in that week and I won or something. And now he's a special breed because he's as good as they come.
Mm-hmm.
But it is interesting to go into tournaments now and maybe not have a great Tuesday session and not think, oh God, like I don't need it to, I think I now know what these other players know is I don't need it to click all the time. Like I can make this work.
Yeah.
And maybe it'll get going once Friday comes. And that's why I've had a lot of good kind of Saturday rounds lately, is because I built into the tournament a bit instead of thinking, gosh, I didn't hit it great Thursday. I didn't hit it great Friday. Like, God, it's going to, before I'd play myself out of the cut. Now I'm playing myself into the cut or into the mix. And then I go play well on the weekend and I'm kind of in contention. So I learned a lot from Quail Hollow just about all that. It was a lot less, like Justin said, it takes a lot less than you think to win a tour event. You know, it takes a lot, obviously, but less than you think. You picture it being the greatest week of your life. And that week was not for me. So that was cool to know that.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I'm going to text you a photo right now, and I want you to let me know at this moment. And this text comes through. How you felt at this moment. And
I felt honored to be with you guys.
And what it was like a week later, knowing that that's pre-PGA Tour champion. PGA Tour winner right there, 5 days later, 6 days later.
It's cool. It's cool. What's cool is, and this is going to sound maybe not sappy, but a little more lame, is like, I love pictures like that and I love dinners like that. And what winning does is it means that I can do more things like with all you guys. Like I can hang out with my friends longer. Like I can go to dinners on tour at Del Frisco's, which is a nice place. Like I can go to places with my buddies and enjoy life while also getting to compete against those same people, hang out with you. Like that's cool. Like whenever you're on the road gets lonely. You know this better than all of us. It gets lonely. So nights where you get to hang out with 5 good buddies and go to dinner, 6 good buddies is cool. So yeah, there's no difference in me. I'm the same guy. The difference is now I know that I've got a couple, I've got a lot longer I can keep doing that fun stuff. So that's what makes me feel good about it.
Well, I can't wait for the many more. And after your next one, we're going to Vegas right after.
All right, deal.
Skip the media. The jet will be ready.
I'll do one interview. I'm out. I'm going to meet Kelley in Vegas.
Let's go. Well, dude, thanks so much for doing this. I appreciate it. Again, congratulations on the win last year. It was so special to watch. As I've said many times before, you're such an awesome dude and love seeing the success. You've earned it, and it's incredible to watch not only a great human being, but a great athlete achieve what you achieve. So thanks for being on, and congratulations on your biggest win. Many more to come.
Thanks for having me. I need to get a background like you next time.
This is a green screen. It's not even mine.
That's a sick green screen.
It's one of the presets on Zoom.
Sick.
You can put your name up there and this.
Yeah, that's why it says James. Yeah.
Yeah, I got my wife up here in this one.
Very well done.
All right, buddy. Thank you again.
I appreciate you.
I'll talk to you
soon.
Later, man.
Later.
Peace.
See ya.